Hi, this is Caroline. Um, Today I wanted to talk to Michael about the cell danger response, and how to stop it or get out of it once it started. So the cell danger response is a reaction of the mitochondria to perceived or real chemical, biological, or physical um, da- danger or harm, or injury. And in my morning meditations, Spirit was telling me that this actually also happens with emotional or energetic perceived harm. And so Spirit gave a lot of instructions about how to avoid experiencing that in the future, how to kind of like sidestep situations like that. But then when I was writing up the instructions that Spirit gave, I realized I wasn't really clear about how to stop the cell danger response once it had started. So, what happens with the cell danger response is that the initial phase is that the mitochondria um, give this burst of energy. So, ATP, ADP, oxygen, reactive oxygen species. And so what that's supposed to do is just like give you this energy so that you can respond to the danger. Um, but if the danger is ongoing, or if the perception of danger is ongoing, like something like PTSD or something like that, um, then the mitochondria will then go into a defense mode where they're not producing energy, but instead they're trying to defend the body from this perceived danger. And so this is what now is thought to be like one of the root causes of chronic disease, autoimmune diseases, things like that, that are becoming more and more prevalent in the 21st century. And so when Spirit was like, hey, it's not just like physical dangers, biological dangers that can do this, it's also exposure to emotional stress, emotional danger, energetic danger, so that we need to, even though hasn't been written up in the literature, Spirit is saying this does exactly the same thing to the body. Um, and so I just wanted to ask Michael, you know, once that cell danger response is turned on, whether it's from emotion, energetic, biological, chemical, um, or a physical assault, how can we turn it off? How can we turn it off? So just asking Michael, how can we turn off that cell danger response once it's turned on? How can we turn that? Oh, hi, Michael. Good to see you. Good. Yeah. All right. Yeah. How can we turn that off? Okay. So what he's saying is we turn it off by being still. We turn it off by going back to the breath. So when Michael always talks about the breath, he's always talking about the physiologic breath pattern. And so the physiologic breath pattern is breathe in for 3 seconds, breathe out for 7 seconds, 6 times a minute. So it's a slow pattern of breath. And the the 3 second in is stimulating of the sympathetic nervous system. The 7 seconds out is stimulating of the parasympathetic nervous system. And what that does is it creates the right tone and balance in the autonomics, because we need a balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic, and our resting tone should be parasympathetic dominance. And so if we have the breath in the right cycle, then that's part of what puts us into um, proper balance of the autonomics. All right. All right. So thanks, Michael, for reminding us about the breath as a way to get out of the um, cell danger response. Anything else that we should be doing? And so what he's saying is pray. And by that, he means like, remember you're not alone. Remember you're surrounded by helpers. We're all here for you. And so a lot of the trauma comes from a perception of being all alone, of being isolated, that you're the only one. And so it's really important to reach out to other people and to your spiritual connection, to your guides and healers, your friends, um, the angels, archangels, whoever it is that you're connected to energetically and spiritually, and whoever is in your support system of people. Um, so know that you're not alone and pray, and in that way, what Michael means when he says pray is like not a list of things that you want. It's connect, it's communicate, it's converse. That's what Michael means when he says pray. Yeah. So anything else? What else should we do? And he's just like a little bit flabbergasted, but not like in a mean way. But he's just like, you guys always go around thinking you're all alone, but I'm standing right here. Like, I am right here by your side. Like, I am not leaving you. Like, you are never ever alone. You just have to kind of like open your eyes, basically, and your awareness to just know you're not alone. You're not going through anything by yourself. Like, one of the meditations I did at the ocean, and I just loaded it into peaceful pause, is is that we're actually being carried all the time. And even if we holler like, "Put me down," like, that's not something that can happen. Like, there is no down to be put, because we are always being carried. We're always being held. We're always being adored and loved. And we just forget. We just don't keep that in our awareness. And so remembering that we're not alone, that we're held and that we're loved continually. There's no option to that. There's no alternative to that. There's no other to that. That is a state of being that you cannot sidestep. That really helps to end this cell danger response. Anything else, Michael? Okay, so now he wants to talk about the mitochondria itself. He wants to talk about the mitochondria after the initiation of the cell danger response. All right, and so let's understand what's happening with the mitochondria after the initiation of the cell danger response. Okay. So what he's saying is that there's like this contagion. So it's almost like the cell danger response is contagious amongst the mitochondria. And so it's like everybody is getting ready to go to battle. Like, the signal is sent out, and all the mitochondria start shifting over from making energy to going into defense mode. So there's this contagion that's happening of going into defense mode instead of producing energy in the mitochondria. And it's a certain threshold that has to be reached, where then you're tipped into sympathetic dominance. And at a certain level of persistence, there's kind of like this, like in the olden days, how the record would get a cut in it, a scratch in it. and then it would keep going around the same thing over and over again. And it's like that. It's like that in the body with a cell danger response, that it starts with the mitochondria. It's contagious. The response is contagious and spreads throughout the mitochondria. And then that kind of like tips the autonomics into sympathetic dominance. And then that whole thing is just like kind of like a broken record where it just keeps going over and over and over and over. And so how do we get, or is there anything else to that process? Oh, okay. And then the mind plays in, oh, the limbic system, particularly the amygdala. So the amygdala is upregulated, the frontal lobe is downregulated as part of this. Prefrontal cortex is like obliterated, um, by which I mean very downregulated. Um, and then that's kind of like, it's interesting, yeah, because then this this reaction in the limbic system then becomes kind of like the the conductor of the orchestra, so that it starts with the mitochondria, but they're not actually like in charge after this whole series of events occurs. It really comes into the limbic system being in charge. And so Michael's just saying, and it doesn't matter what kind of trauma initiated this. The limbic system comes to be in charge with super down regulation, frontal prefrontal cortex. Um, so anything else? Okay, so that's it. That's the series. Mitochondria to autonomics to limbic to frontal prefrontal. So, all right. So how do we unwind this whole thing? Do we start with the limbic, frontal, prefrontal, autonomics? So Michael's saying, but we don't start with a particular component, but that we start with the relationship between the components, the thing that's tying them or communicating everything, and that's the endocrine system, the neuroendocrine system. That's the neuroendocrine system. And so the neuroendocrine system is what has to be addressed, because that's what's communicating between these components that keep us locked in the cell danger response. And so, how do we address the neuroendocrine system that's sending the signals to maintain the upregulation? Oh, and he's saying go back to the breath. The breath has more to do than just autonomics. It has to do with like pH balancing too, optimization of pH of the body, and it has to do with right right production of the neurotransmitters and of the whole endocrine system. So right production of the whole endocrine system, of all of the hormones, neurotransmitters. So the breath is what unwinds this whole thing. And so that's 3 seconds in, 7 seconds out, 6 times a minute. This is the breath we should always be breathing. And when we forget, then we need to come back to it. It's very helpful as a reminder to have one of these resisted breathing pipes, because this will snap you out very, very quickly. And usually the recommendation is to use the breathing pipe 5 minutes a day. But if you're in crisis, just use it as often as you can. And then even when you're not using it, try to do the physiologic breath, which is the 3 seconds in, 7 seconds out. We should be doing it all the time. We're just basically used to panting instead. And so it doesn't work very well to balance the autonomics or the neuroendocrine system or anything. Um, so, yeah, so that's awesome. Anything else here? Okay, so that's how we unwind it. Okay, and so any so that's a major thing that he wants to talk about, and then there's other stuff for preventing it, so that you would like try to get out of it, and then you would go through the exercises that he gave for like sidestepping exposure to danger in the future, so that you don't have to get that activation of the cell danger response going forward. Anything else, Michael? Okay, thanks, Michael. Thank you for joining me today, and Conversations with Michael.